going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, fresh from our bloody Colchester defeat in the League Cup on penalties. We've lost 4-3 to Colchester on penalties. An absolutely disastrous day for Tottenham Hotspur. What can we make out of this, Sim?
It's a tough one, really tough one. I mean, that was like the pièce de résistance of shit yesterday. It was so bad. Like, I can't put into words how awful we were as just a team. There was no energy, no creativity, no desire. It was, after all the stuff that's been going on, it was just awful time to put in a performance like that. I know it was a makeshift team, and it was it was
a makeshift team, but it was like 40-50% first team players there. The team that was put out yesterday was more than good enough to win that game.
I don't disagree with that, but I'm just saying it was in terms of a team who doesn't really play together regularly in terms of that kind of thing.
But, you look at the side. You've got Kyle Walker-Peters, who's pushing for a first team place at the moment.
I don't disagree. There's players there who, if they're going to think they're good enough for the first team, they need to be showing up in these kind of games. 100%. I don't disagree with that. I'm not saying that the fact there was a makeshift team is an excuse. I'm just saying I'm putting the point across. I know it was a makeshift team, and I know all these things. That there were players who are coming back from fitness. There are players who are pushing for a first team. But I'm sorry, this is a Colchester in League 2. You can't be putting a performance like that if you want to be playing in the Premier League week in, week out. If you're trying to stake a claim for the first team, and you're trying to say that I'm good enough to be at this club, and I'm good enough to be pushing for these type of positions for a club who regularly now has been in the top 3, top 4 of the Premier League, challenging for league titles, challenging for Champions League finals, you can't be putting in performances like they did yesterday and claim that you're good enough.
100%.
Sorry, you can't. And it's so frustrating because these are players like, for example, DAVINSON SANCHEZ. We're expecting big things from him. We're expecting him to, whatever, we'll get into the play rates. We're expecting these players to, the players like Ericsson, Toby, Jan, Aurier, Rose. We have to believe there's life after these players. That there's gonna be players who are going to be able to step in, especially because they want to go. They're aging. They want to move on. But at the moment, it's so demoralising to see them put in these kind of performances, and it kind of questions where we're going if these players do leave. Because we want to believe we're in a comfortable situation, but the performances they're putting in aren't giving the fans comfort.
Yeah, and I genuinely believe there is no sole reason for this collapse at the moment. I think every single person at the football club is to blame, from top to bottom, from the board to the manager to the players. And there's no, and even the fans are starting to get the hump at the moment. Yesterday, I know you weren't there, but it was getting absolutely toxic last night, and fans were berating the team. The team came over after the game and they got booed, and it's really, really worrying times at the moment. But anyway, let's get into the player ratings. We gave Gazzaniga a 6. Didn't have much to do pretty much the whole game. That
penalty save was probably his only touch of the ball, to be honest. Yeah. So, I mean, it was good. It was one of the classiest saves, just punched that Panenka away. I thought at that moment, we probably would have had it, but again, obviously Lucas missed the penalty after. But yeah, I mean, look, nothing much to say about Gazza. Had one touch of the ball, saved the penalty. Can't ask too much from him. Yeah. Next up, Kyle Walker-Peters. We gave him a 5. Again, a performance from him. He was playing a right wing back, which should have given him an opportunity to show off his prowess going forward in the final third. We haven't been able to see that a lot in the Premier League games because he kind of restricts himself to just like defensive mode when he's playing the Premier League. I feel like he doesn't have the confidence yet to go forward. And against a League 2 side, you're expecting him to kind of attempt at least to dominate that right hand side. And he was a constant source of he was a constant outlet for us yesterday. He saw a lot of the ball, but again, didn't do enough with it. There was one moment where he mishit a cross and it hit the post. That was probably the closest Spurs came as a team to scoring yesterday. But I feel like if he should have been good enough to at least lay on a few chances for a few players, create something. He didn't. He wasn't great. Again, the only good thing about his performance was he was a lot of the time he was in space, and a lot of the time he was kind of giving an option for the team. But if he wants to be the starting right back, I'm sorry, I expect more from him.
100%. And I think, to be fair to him, he did get up and down well. I thought he was, like you said, our main attacking outlet on the right wing. But his end product was just atrocious yesterday. So many times he was in great positions to put in great crosses, and he got those crosses away. But if 3 out of those 10 crosses he put in were good, we could have walked away with that one win. But
Exactly. At this level, you've got to be picking someone out. Even if you're making two chances, 3 chances in the game, just pick someone out. If they miss, it's their fault. But I'm sorry, he wasn't doing his job at right wing back. And when you're playing 3 at the back, you rely a lot on the wing backs, and he wasn't up to it.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to DAVINSON Sanchez, we gave him a 3. I don't understand how this guy gets bullied in not every game, but in the majority of games he's playing at the moment. You know, he got bullied by that Colchester forward. He was losing the ball time and time again. I thought he was atrocious yesterday. There was one moment where he did a bit of skill from the centre-back role, which I didn't even know if he meant. And, you know, DAVINSON Sanchez really needs to step up his game because, you know, he's putting in like 1 good performance in like 6 at the moment.
In terms of him being bullied, I don't know if that was the case yesterday. I don't know if he was bullied by the player, but
I think he was. That tall striker of theirs was giving him a hard time, especially in the first half.
I disagree. I think he handled him. I don't think he had anything. Defensively, they didn't have a shot, so I don't know if him being bullied was an issue. However, I agree with the rating because this guy is supposed to be. He's supposed to be the heir to the Jan and Toby throne, is as it were. He's supposed to be next season when if they both leave or one of them leaves, he's going to be starting every single game, and he's going to have to be ready for that.
God help us.
And it's what's the most worrying for him is he's been here 3 years now. This is 3rd year. I don't think he's really improved since he's come.
He has not improved.
I think he came as a decent player. He's still a decent player, but we expect more. We don't need it. We need him to be a world-class defender. We need him to be a great defender. I don't think he's improved so much. But the most worrying thing for me is out of the 2 centre-backs yesterday, or 3 centre-backs, he looked the least comfortable on the ball again. So many sloppy passes. I don't know how is he not looking comfortable on the ball? Well, he's been here 3 years. He has so much time on the ball as a Spurs defender when we play against most teams. We usually dominate the ball.
That's why he came to Spurs with a reputation for being good on the ball. And that's his like worst asset at the moment. I just don't get what's going on.
Most worrying is you got Tanganga, who's making his first team debut, and he looked more comfortable on the ball than Sanchez did. He looked like he was willing to stride into midfield, pick out a pass. I know he wasn't perfect either, but at least he looked more comfortable than Sanchez.
When Tanganga went off yesterday, I was like, why are you taking him on? Take Sanchez off. Tanganga's been the better of the 2.
And like Tanganga wasn't doing these sloppy passes like Sanchez was. Sanchez was just, every time he tried to pass the ball into midfield, it kept getting intercepted or was sloppy and it's just frustrating because we know we signed him for big money, and it's like, when is he going to turn into this defender which we need him to be if we're going to rely on him when Toby leaves? And at the moment, I don't think anyone's confident that he can be that defender, and he needs to show that he can step up.
Definitely.
And it's worrying because we all believe in him. We all know, we all think he can be that player, but he hasn't shown it yet. Anyway, next up is Tanganga. We gave him a 6. I thought, competent display. He was part of a back 3. I thought as I said before, he was more comfortable on the ball than DAVINSON Sanchez was. I thought
for his first competitive game for us.
He stepped into midfield pretty well. I don't think he did too much wrong. I thought he dealt with Colchester pretty well. Colchester really didn't have anything throughout the game. The whole game was played in their half, so he didn't have too much defending to do. Competent display from him. Yeah, as you said, unlucky a bit to be taken off early, but I can understand why he did that. But I think it was positive from him, but it's hard to judge how good, because he didn't have too much defending to do, so it's hard to judge his quality of performance.
All right, moving on to Eric Dier, we gave him a 5, captain on the night, where we really needed a leader, it seemed. All in all, I don't think it was a terrible display from Eric Dier, but there were times where he was getting rinsed by their right or their left winger. And, you know, Dier cannot be letting players like that skin him alive. It's inexcusable. I'm sorry. This guy is a Premier League footballer, reckons himself as one of the best DCMs or CMs in the league, and he's getting done by a cold League 2 winger. I'm sorry. He was trying to make things happen, trying to play the long balls, spraying out, but it just wasn't working for him. But apart from that, he was okay.
Apart from all that rubbish. But the only thing I would say about Eric Dier in a positive way is that he was one of the only
calm heads.
No, first of all, calm head, but he was one of the only players who was actually trying to actively force Colchester into making something happen. He was trying to find these balls into the box. He was constantly on that right-hand channel, whipping balls in and playing balls over the top. However, when you're a Premier League player of Dier's experience, who's been playing with the Premier League for a while, I know it's his first game back from injury, so you got to give a bit. But not one ball came off him. Every single ball was either overhit or too wide, or wasn't finding a man. And when you're someone of Dier's quality, or someone who thinks he's as good as Dier thinks he is, you've got at least one of those balls has to come off. I'm sorry. And I give him credit because he was one of the only players really trying to force the issue, but nothing was coming off. And when nothing comes off, you've got to question how good you've been in that game, and you've got to question your own quality. So question marks for Dier there.
Especially against a League Two side.
One thing I would say is he did look more comfortable in a back three than I've seen him for a while in centre mid. So maybe going forward that would be his position. Whatever, can't read too much into it in terms of that sense, but there you go, that's my opinion on Eric Dier. Next up, Ben Davies, we gave him a 4. Again, another player who, going forward, as a wing back, you just expect more from him. He just didn't create enough. And he had that spell, didn't he, 2 seasons ago, at the beginning of the season, when he was like getting assists for fun. He had like 4 assists at the start of the season. Everyone thought, okay, this is the real Ben Davies. Davies is really coming into it now. But since that run, we haven't seen enough from him going forward. We know that he has decent quality on the ball in terms of crossing the ball in the box or being able to pick out a pass, but he needs to get his groove back because, again, yesterday was another disappointing display for him.
Yeah, he kind of picked up where he left off out in Greece. I thought last season was a poor season for Davies, but I think at the back end of last season he started to get back into it, but he hasn't picked up from where he left on from the back end of last season. I think it was an awful display from Davies. You know, in a game like this, when you're playing 3 at the back, you rely so heavily on your fullbacks. And if your fullbacks aren't putting in good balls into the box, you know, that was our only options yesterday. All we were doing was getting it wide and getting balls into the box. And if Davies and Kyle Walker-Peters are not providing that, then we've got nothing. And that's what we had last night.
Because in theory, it was just, in terms of going forward, it was only really our fullbacks and the 3 forward players who were our only options, because obviously we'll go into in a minute, but Wanyama and Skipp weren't getting forward. They weren't really an option going forward. So we had to rely on our fullbacks. That was our only route to goal. And given that fact, you know, they had a chance to show how good they are going forward against a League Two side. Him and Kyle Walker just both equally as culpable. And on the wing, they just didn't provide enough. And I'm sorry, when you're playing League Two opposition, you should be able to pick out a few passes. And I know they're not the best attacking fullbacks, but if you're going to say, I want to be playing Premier League football, I want first team football, I want to put my name in the ring to say I could be starting at fullback for Tottenham Hotspur, you've got to be showing better than that.
100%. All right, moving on to Ollie Skipp, we gave him a 4. I think this is one of the worst performances I've seen Ollie Skipp play for Tottenham Hotspur. I don't want to dig into him too much because, you know, he's a young player coming through the ranks. But look, we've seen him play in Premier League games and play a lot better than that. Yeah. And he was in the middle, and I think yesterday was a real good opportunity for Ollie Skipp to stake a claim, to be more involved in the first team. He just didn't take it. I thought he was losing the ball way too much in the middle. He was trying to make things happen, credit to him, but it just wasn't coming off for him, and he's got to do a lot better than that, Ollie Skipp.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough for him yesterday, but I agree with you. Again, loose passes just wasn't quick enough on the ball. His passing was a player who relies on his quick passing and able to knit little things together to start off moves going forward. It wasn't good enough for him. I know he's a young player and he'll have better games and he'll have better performances in a more settled team, hopefully. But it wasn't, if it was going to stake a claim to be more involved with the first team, wasn't the best performance.
Because you're looking at the midfield there, him and Wanyama, he's the one that's going to be getting the ball, making things moving. You know, Wanyama, as we saw last night, can't pass for shit. Yeah. So Skippy is supposed to be that one, that glue between the midfield and the attack.
In fairness to Skipp, I know going through the middle, he wasn't getting much joy, but he was getting a lot of joy in terms of finding the fullbacks. And he did, time after time, was finding Davies and Kyle Walker-Peters, and they weren't able to kind of make anything happen. But I think, you know, when you're playing this kind of opposition, you've got to be able to step up and prove that you're better than them. And he wasn't able to do that. Anyway, next up, Victor Wanyama. We gave him a 2. I mean, really, I feel bad for him when he's out there because he just doesn't seem to be up to it anymore. I'm sorry. Off the ball, he was semi-okay. He won a few nice tackles. There was one moment though early in the first half where one of the Colchester players just breezed past him and he had to pull him back, and you're thinking, oh, this Wanyama, that would never have happened like 3 years ago when he was top of his game. No one breathes past his Wanyama, and when that's happening at Colchester, you're like, God. And the worst thing about his game is obviously his passing, because the guy his passing was never his forte, but he was never this bad. He can't pass to a white shirt anymore. It's ridiculous. Every time he attempts a pass, it's either going out of play or he's being intercepted, and it's really frustrating because we were prepared to let him go in the summer, and we couldn't let it happen. Poch even said himself in a press conference that, you know, we're not a charity, and Wanyama, he was kind of insinuating Wanyama's not really up to it anymore. And the fact that he's still at the club, and we now have to play him, or whatever we are playing.
We don't have to play him. It's Pochettino's choice to play him.
I know it's Pochettino's choice, but we are playing him. He's decided that he wants to give him another chance, and I feel bad for him because he's just physically, he's not up to it anymore. He's not up to it, and he's not one of those players.
He's done.
He's not one of those players where physically you're gone, but he can rely on his footballing technique, because he doesn't have that great technique. So I'm sorry. Like, if this is the kind of performance we're going to be expecting of him going forward, then I don't want to see too much of him in Premier League games, because it's hard for him. It's hard when you're watching to see such a player who we respected so much, who was so good in his early years, putting in performances like this. It's hard to watch, and he shouldn't be playing, really.
He shouldn't be, and you know, he come on against Leicester last week, and we all said after that, you know, this guy's done out here. He plays against Colchester, who are 3 levels below us, you know, in League 2, and they're not even doing well in League 2, you know what I mean? And he looks below their level. It's absolutely a joke, you know. There was a moment in the game where he came from behind a player, did some amazing sliding tackle, and all he needed to do was make a 5-yard pass, and he couldn't even do that. You know, he was trying to make passes the whole night, and every single time they were either going out of play or to a Colchester player. I just don't get what he's doing. Like, I could have made passes better than him that he was doing last night.
It was a tough watch. It was a real tough watch.
I love Wanyama, yeah. I thought I give him so much respect for what he did at Tottenham before, like, his injury, but now the guy's done. I don't want to see him in a Spurs shirt again. I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah, and we know that. Spurs now, that's why we tried to get rid of him. It's just, I don't know what happened in the deal with Club Brugge, why it didn't go over the line, but...
Because he's shit. I don't understand, yeah, why Pochettino comes out with all that thing saying what you just mentioned, and he still plays him. I don't get it. What is going on? Go on, move on.
Dele Alli, we gave him a 4. Again, not a great display from him. The only positive, he was kind of in the middle, in the thick of things, trying to make things happen. A few things came off for him, but not enough. And I think as the game grew on, he was getting less and less effective. I thought we started the game quite well, yeah. But as the game wore on, he was just losing the ball more. He was getting muscled off the ball more, and it got to a stage where late in the game he just was so ineffective that he just couldn't get a pass off. And every time he was dawdling on the ball, and he was getting into that mode, you know, where Dele Alli gets in that mode where he's just hanging on the ball too long, and he's getting out muscle, not picking out the right options.
Scientific term for it is don't give a fuck mode.
I don't know about that, but it was just, it wasn't great. And when a player like Dele Alli's quality, we know how good he can be. I know he's come back from injury, he's going to take a bit of time to get back in the team, get back in the groove of things, but another poor display from him. He needs to show a lot more than this if he's going to earn back his regular first team spot for Premier League matches. And he has to look at himself in a game where he should be at least creating a few chances in this game and getting shots off, and another poor display from him.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought, like you said, he did start the game well. He was everywhere in that first half. You know, he was on the left flank, the right flank, the middle. He was picking up the ball, trying to make things happen. But as you said, as the game went on, he was just doing like more tricks and more flicks, and nothing was coming off for him. It was like, just
keep it simple.
Exactly, just keep it simple. We're struggling in this game, and get us a goal. You cast your mind back to when we played MK Dons in the same round last year. Was it the same? I think it was the same round.
Yeah, Watford and MK Dons.
Watford and MK Dons, you know. Dele Alli played a similar role in that, but he was everywhere, and he completely controlled that game, and we needed a similar performance from him last night. But
he kind of stepped up, wanting to take more authority, but didn't come.
The quality wasn't there.
It just... Anyway.
Moving on to Lucas Moura, we gave him a 6. I thought it was a very good first half from him. You know, he was beating Colchester players for fun. They were having really hard time trying to deal with him. But then in that second half, I don't think I saw him that whole second half. And that's why we gave him a 6. I think if he would have replicated his first half in the second half, I think we could have won that game. But no, it wasn't to be. Second half, he was completely anonymous, and that's why we gave him a 6.
Yeah, I thought first half he was by far and away our best player. Every time he got the ball, he was beating a man. I thought actually he was let down a lot by his teammates because a lot of the time he would beat a man and then pass the ball to either Parrott or Dele in a really promising position, and they would screw it up or get a shot off and like have it blocked or something like that. So I give him a lot of credit for that first half performance. Yeah, second half, I agree. It seems to be a theme with Lucas. He ties in games a lot. He seems to struggle to the last 90 minutes.
This is against Colchester.
I know. I agree with you. He should be doing a lot more. But I think for his first half display, he was our only positive. It was probably that first half display from Lucas was probably our only positive throughout the whole game. So you got to give him credit for that. It was weird because it was almost like too easy for him at times. It was like he'd beat like two men, and then you kind of lay it off for a player and try and simplify it. But again, if he just went alone, he could have maybe got a shot off or something. But he again didn't test the keeper enough. Didn't lay on an extremely easy chance for anyone.
Did we make their keeper make one save?
I don't think so.
I can't remember one save him making. Maybe a shot from Dier, but that was about it. Like I don't remember anything.
I don't think we did. Their keeper was largely untroubled. But I think Lucas in that first half was our only good shining light.
All right.
Lastly, but not least, Troy Parrott. We gave him a 4. 17-year-old make his debut. A lot of people talking him up. A lot of people were very excited to see him play. Pochettino was urging caution quite a lot.
Rightly so.
And clearly rightly so, because he did see, I don't know if I was harsh to say he looked out of his depth, but he wasn't good. So let's be honest.
Don't be harsh on him, because Colchester played with 2 banks of 4 pretty much the whole game, and it was very hard for him to find space.
I actually disagree with that because I actually think he did find space. I actually thought for a 17-year-old he actually saw a lot more of the ball than I thought he would, and I thought a lot of the time there was a lot of the time where he had the ball and he either didn't have the confidence to take a shot, or he did have a shot and he was snatching at the shot. And also, I thought his passing was loose. There was one moment where he had a pass out wide to Walker Peters. It got intercepted. It fell back to him, and he attempted the same pass, and it got intercepted again. It just, the quality wasn't there, unfortunately, from him. And I felt, I don't want to be harsh on him, but I got to call it out as it is. I can't say he had a great game when he didn't have a great game. He didn't play well. I'm not saying we're ruling him out. I'm saying he's going to be rubbish and he's obviously got a future. I'm not saying that at all. I know it's his debut. He's a young player. He's going to have a lot more game time. As Pochettino said after the game, this guy's got a bright future at Spurs and he's going to have a lot more games in the Tottenham shirt, which I'm excited about and happy for him to say. But you got to be honest. You got to say what you saw. And in this game, he just didn't have a good game. And I don't know whether it's because it was his first game, because it was an unsettled team, because everyone else was playing badly, it kind of got to him, or just because the occasion got to him being his first team debut or whatnot. I don't know what it was, but he didn't have a good game. Nothing came off for him. Nothing came off him. Whenever he got the ball, he either gave it away or he snapped at a shot. I'm sure he'll have better games, but that's the truth of the matter.
Look, let's not nail too hard on Troy Parrott, because it was his first game. He is 17 years old. I know he didn't have such a great game, but when you're making your debut at 17 and things are not going right and you look up for inspiration around the team, everyone was poor. So what's he got to look around at? Where's he got to take inspiration from?
I'm not disagreeing with you.
The fans were absolutely awful last night, could hardly get a song going. So where's the inspiration from there? Looking around the pitch, there was no inspiration around that pitch. And looking to the bench, nothing going on there as well. So it's very...
I don't blame Parrott so much for his performance yesterday. There's a lot of circumstances, especially him being 17. All I'm saying is he did play badly. That's you can't blame Pochettino for Parrott having all those intercepted passes or the whole team. He's got to look at himself as well and say what he could do better and what not, because he did have a bad game. But obviously, there's more pressing issues than Troy Parrott having a bad game.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to get too much into Parrott because, like we said, it's his first game. He's 17, and we should just cut him a little bit of slack.
No, but also I would say is, you got to give him patience because everyone's bigging him up and he's 17 and there's a lot to come. Pochettino even said after the game, it could take him a year, it could take him 2 years to really fulfill his potential.
The guy's 17 years
so
old.
You got to be patient with him. I know everyone's so desperate to rush him into the first team, get him game time, get him playing in the Premier League, and so desperate for him to kind of, they want to fast track him into the first team. You just got to be patient. You got to be wary of his age and be wary that he's not going to come immediately. And not everyone's like Harry Kane, where as soon as they bring him to the first team, he just started scoring for fun.
Yeah, but even Harry Kane, how old was he when he
was 21, so it was 4 years after.
Exactly.
you know, we got to be patient with him. Let's not rush him into the first team, and let's not force him into situations where he's not ready for, and then call him not good enough, because that's not helping anyone. So hopefully that's the message put across. But anyway, lastly, Pochettino, we'll give him a 5. I mean,
5?
Whatever, I don't know, whatever you want to give him.
We went out to Colchester in the 3rd round of the League Cup. How does he get a 5?
Whatever, I don't know. 3, 2, 0, I don't know.
Something like that. The guy, you know, first of all, starting WANYAMA, he gets minus points for that, because he's the one that said WANYAMA's done out here, and he's the one that keeps playing and brought him on in a pivotal moment against Leicester, started him, and how did he last 90 minutes? That's what I don't understand. How's the guy lasting 90 minutes last night?
It should have been taken off.
He takes off PARROTT, Tanganga and SKIPP.
Our 3 youngest players.
Yeah, but why? Those weren't our maybe PARROTT aside, but Tanganga and SKIPP weren't
we needed more in the later games with a bit more experience. I don't know.
You know what I mean? WANYAMA had to be going off, the first player to be going off. He was absolutely shocking last night. I thought we set up a bit too defensively.
Yeah.
We need to be going for these teams. You know, we're playing a League 2 side, albeit and not a team that are doing well in League 2, and we need to be going for these sides, all-out attack and getting goals.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. However, I think, as you said before, the team he put out was more than good enough to win this game. I feel like I agree with you. 3 at the back and then having WANYAMA and SKIPP doesn't lend to too much creativity. However, when you've got players like Kyle Walker-Peters and Davis and then Dele and Lucas going forward, they should have enough in their armoury to at least create a few chances. And if they're not good enough to create a few chances in this kind of game, they have to question themselves and how good they are. Because I'm sorry, if you're going to be playing Premier League football, you're going to be expected to be able to get forward and in the final third have something in your armoury, be able to put off a pass, and especially against League 2 opposition. You should be able to play a good enough football, even if you're a defensive player, to be able to create a few chances. And they have to look at themselves and they have to look at how good they have to look at how good their performance was and how good they think they are if they're gonna not be able to put in these kind of performances against Colchester. I'm sorry. Pochettino should expect them to be able to create a few chances in this game, and the fact they didn't doesn't bode well for them, doesn't bode well for us. And Pochettino probably didn't set up with the right team. There's no argument there. I don't know why he played 3 at the back and 2 not attacking minded midfielders. What I probably would have done is maybe drop Dele a bit deeper and then put another attacking player in there like Lamela or Son or something. But he went with the lineup he did, and but one thing I would say is, you know, everyone was calling in for him to play PARROTT and Tanganga and SKIPP, and he did do that, and it didn't come off for him. But, you know, you can't have it both ways. You can't call for him to play those players, and then when he does, blame him for playing about.
I'm not blaming him for playing SKIPP, Tanganga, and PARROTT. I'm blaming him for playing WANYAMA.
But even WANYAMA should have. He should against Colchester. He should be good enough in this game. I'm sorry, he should be.
All right, look.
He's got to look at himself. Anyway,
there you have it. That's our player rating. I've been dreading doing this video pretty much since last night. It's over now. We move on to Southampton. Let's hope we can just pick ourselves up and get that win. Like, subscribe and comment below what you think of our ratings. And as always, come on you Spurs.